I just celebrated a little bit of a little anniversary, my wife and I. It was 14 years since our first date. Pretty exciting stuff. I feel like I really lucked out with my wife, though. She's like hotter than I am. But fortunately, her taste in men is the same as her taste in wine. She likes those robust whites that vaguely smell of cat piss. That's kind of my lane right there, so it works out. My wife, though, she's first generation Mexican-American, so she's fluent in Spanish, speaks English too, which is great for me. But you know, I speak a little bit of Spanish, but I'm not that great, and she's like, you know, we need to improve your Spanish. So a couple years ago, she's like, okay, here's what we're gonna do on Saturdays. We're gonna only speak Spanish. You gotta learn that Spanish. Spanish Saturdays. So I said, okay, we'll do this. Sí. But I was like, I wanna, you know, kind of represent my cultural ancestry, and I'm like half Irish, so I'm like, okay, we gotta represent the Irish a little bit. So we'll do Spanish on Saturdays, but then a few hours on Sunday morning, we're gonna dedicate to disparaging Protestants. Just doing that. And that's been working out pretty well. Do you guys have a good Halloween? Pretty spooky? You guys from we like Burbank locals here, or everyone flew in for the show? Great, all right. I know, I'm getting pretty big. Well, here in Burbank, like they get very into Halloween. I think there's like a bunch of industry people, so there's a bunch of like decorated houses and all this, and haunted houses. And this whole contest that the city puts on and judges like the best decorated houses. So we went and looked at them, and I was a little bit surprised. They're pretty gory, like really violent, and like little kids are going around looking at all these things and like laughing at these skeletons beheading one another. And I was like, man, I guess you can go kind of dark with these things, but there is a limit. It has to be violent only. You can't even get remotely sexual. One tastefully masturbating skeleton, and I was banned from the contest. Didn't win. But I know you guys you're thinking this guy must be a professional dancer. He looks like he's got those moves he can use, and looks like a rap man up here. Well, believe it or not, I'm actually not. I am not a good dancer. I feel like I could have been a good dancer, though. Like I grew up with 3 sisters. No brothers, it was just me, and I wanted to do everything my sisters did. And they would do this thing every week. They would go to classes for jazz dance. I don't know if anyone's familiar with, we got some jazzies. Oh, we got one enthusiastic jazzy, sweet. Well, for those of you who aren't familiar, jazz dance, it's a form of dancing, really no connection to jazz music as far as I can tell. It's kind of like a funky, sanitized hip-hop dancing for like mostly white children. Like they use a lot of props. There's always like a boogie board for some reason, I don't know why. Like a finger wagging. It gets pretty sassy up there, so. It's not just for kids though. There's like 12 levels of it. If you complete all 12 courses of jazz dance, you're in the Black Eyed Peas. So that works out pretty well. And it wasn't just for girls too. There was always a few boys in the class. And they had, like the girls were in leotards for like the recitals. And then the boys, though, they had to put them in something. So it was always like a turquoise, like sequin vest and like a headband that just says "Wow" or something, you know. It's like a really shitty street gang of French waiters. So I would go every week, and I'd beg my parents to let me join, but my dad's kind of conservative. And I got the old, no son of mine is going to engage in fun, regular cardiovascular exercise to develop rhythm and confidence with which to dance and speak to women later on in life. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Something about like American men or like American dads, specifically of a certain generation, they associate dancing. It's like clear homophobia, right? Like if you have a son, the worst thing that son can do is dance because that's somehow gay. Makes no sense. Turns out dancing is kind of a good kind of tool to have for the whole courting process. Yeah, I don't know. I was watching like television with my grandpa once, and it was like somebody like Fred Astaire or something dancing. He's like, hey, that fella, he's a little bit of light. He's light in the loafers. And that was supposed to be like a pejorative, and I was, but I would love to be called light in the loafers. If you're light in the loafers, that's like good joint health, agility. If you're light in the loafers, they do not print your BMI in red text on your after visit summary. Fuck you, UCLA Health, okay? Yeah, so what I did instead, my parents, they signed me up for baseball. That was like my fun exercise activity. And baseball is a cool sport. I think it looks a lot of fun. You have to be good at it to actually play it, though. Yeah, because if you can play, you're hitting balls, you're running around. If you're bad at baseball, the entire game consists of you sit down a lot, then you stand up for a little bit of time, and then you sit down again. It's the whole game. I actually looked into the history of it. Baseball was invented at like an old-timey tuberculosis hospital. They needed something for the patients to do where they wouldn't use their lungs. Not the most athletic, I'm saying. And like legally for like a field to be called a baseball diamond, it does have to have a snack shack attached. That's a legal requirement. If they're not selling hot dogs and grape soda, it's not baseball. So, that's most of my baseball career was sitting down and, eating Fun Dip, basically. Some kids got like participation trophies. I got a participation muffin top. I still have. I think it was cuter. Oh, that's very sad. All right, no, that was thank you. It's kind of my style. Oh, but so actually, what I do for work, I am a lawyer. Is that amazing? Yeah, I know. But you guys, most of you are like, you can't believe it. Like, a well-to-do white guy in a sharp blazer, a lawyer? What? What is this? Believe it. But yeah, you don't like the lawyers very much, right? You're a criminal. Sort of a tale as old as time there. No, you're right. Lawyers get kind of a bad rap, dishonest, fraudsters, that kind of stuff. And I feel like that's not really fair, though. If you think about it, like, lawyers do a lot to advance, civil rights and, defend the wrongly accused, stuff like that. But like me personally, like the most fulfilling part of the job, and like really why I got into it in the first place, is all the money I make. It's very good. A lot of money. I just recommend that. The vanity plate on my Tesla does say LOL Esquire, though, so that's kind of for you guys. You can take a photo with that later if you want. I do feel like, the profession's lost a little bit of its prestige the last couple of years. It used to be I would tell people I was a lawyer, and they'd be like, oh, so you went to law school, took the bar exam. You must have worked hard. Good for you, man. Now I tell people, like, hey, I'm an attorney. They're like, yeah, so is Giuliani, you dipshit. Keep that to yourself. But I work in a very, niche field of the law. I work in legal ethics. And some of you may be thinking, legal ethics, what is that? I've never heard of that. Don't worry, Clarence Thomas hasn't either. Not really required. Is that? Do you immediately associate Clarence Thomas with all lawyers? I mean, you're not far off, but yeah, no, I do mention that legal ethics sometimes to people, and they're like lawyers and ethics, lawyers and ethical. That's like a paradox, man. You work in a paradox, and I get it. It really is kind of a lot like a paradox. Sort of like Schrodinger's cat. Anyone knows that? Except when you open up the box, instead of a cat, there's a coked-out attorney stealing his client's money. Let's see what I deal with. Is that what happened? Yeah, I get you. But yeah, I work very behind the scenes. I do like risk management for law firms. I mostly work from home. And it's all I've done my entire career. My friends and family are kind of like, dude, you call yourself a lawyer, but you've never been in court. You can't answer any of our real legal questions. You don't have like a suit and a briefcase and all that stuff. You're not a real lawyer. So what I started doing is I now build them in 6-minute increments for my time. $900 an hour. They're getting that real lawyer experience. Very happy about it. I've been trying to get in shape a little bit more here. I don't know about you guys. I'm trying to slim down a little bit. I want to lose the gut. I'm going to keep the butt, though. Don't worry. But I started going to a boxing gym near my house, which is a lot of fun. It's weird. I never really wanted to try boxing or anything like that. I was like, oh, I'm going to go be a boxer. But I did always want like an older Latino man to wipe Vaseline on my face and give me a pep talk. Like that's probably the best route for that. But I started it, and I'm actually surprisingly good. Like, I've done some sparring and stuff, and I'm like undefeated. Which is weird, because usually when you go to boxing, you need like power, speed, agility. I don't have any of those. Didn't take jazz dance, as I mentioned. But what I do have is a body type that reminds my opponents of their mother. You try punching a man who looks like he's actively lactating. Don't pull back, you really will. Right, but so I did have a really nice weekend though. I got to hang out with my youngest nephew. He's 2.5 years old, super cute. It's really weird though. His favorite thing is Starbucks. He loves going to Starbucks, and he calls it it's like tall bucks. And he walks down there with grandma like every day. He doesn't go there to drink coffee, obviously, he's way too young for that. He's just really into union busting, so it's really a great place for him. But. All right, guys, let's keep the show going. I'm going to bring back to the stage our host, Greg.